I'm also very excited. This is my favorite. Look, we have matching glasses.
Yeah.
This is this is my favorite part of my work. I mean, I like doing it, but I really like teaching it. So I'm more than happy to have you. Well, now that it's just you and I, do you have any questions as a preview?
Um,
Why are you so excited?
well, I'm excited about it because I feel like I have a lot. I mean, I hope I'll really be able to implement it right away and use it, but I have a lot of clients that like I can intuit what's going on with them, what's their problem, what they need to do, but a lot of times they can't get past themselves. It's like my own self. I have terrible problems with like procrastination or like making something happen or having like I have no grit or no follow through, for example.
Oh, we're gonna fix that.
Right. And so, but the thing I'm saying is like, I know it's there, I know why it's there, but it's harder to make through. And sometimes you can want something so bad, but
Yeah.
but you can't like you can't get past your own resistance. And I think this will help that. So my clients that I see somebody else came on. Hi, Diana. Um, I didn't want to take up the space, but I feel like my clients that I can't help move forward.
Yeah. Oh,
Stuck.
I'm loving everything you just said because it's going to help you personally with what you just said. Why don't I have any
Yeah,
grit and what's going on with the resistance? That's the whole beauty of the conversational method.
exactly.
It
Exactly.
bypasses resistance. That's really what its kind of a hallmark feature is. So I think
Right.
it's going to kind of blow your mind. It's also going to really blow your mind how easy it is. I think, when you've been working in therapy forever, you have all kinds of structures and protocols, and you think you should be doing something. You have, all kinds of guilt and persuasions and this and that, and think about the clients. So this is not like that. We're not going to do any of those things. We're not going to worry about people. We're not going to obsess over it. We're not going to have binders and papers to prepare and everything else. So I think aside from the fact that it's going to actually get you to that place that you're talking about, you're going to find like
Yeah.
it was so much easier than I expected. So welcome to all three of you. Diana, Philip. Sometimes Friday is a little tough for people because they're still working. So I'm not sure who comes to these, but I mean, who shows up live. But I mean, one thing I want to just say at the outset, since the three of you are here, and I'll give it a few minutes before I actually start, is there's over 100 hours inside of the Kajabi portal. And I don't say that to overwhelm you because sometimes you think, oh, fuck 100 hours when I'm ever gonna, have time to watch that. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, okay, you have to learn them all or watch them all, because you really don't. That's not the point. But I am saying the live is kind of a bonus. It's like all the training is already available to you. So whether you're here or not, whether you're involved in the live or not, is not gonna make or break it. This is really an opportunity to like get to know each other, get to know the team, get to know the students who've already been here, ask questions and practice. But everything's already in the portal, and there's going to be more and more as I get, older and go into it more. So you've already paid, you have a membership for life, basically. You always have availability to everything that's recorded, as well as coming to any live that you want. Moreover, we have the master classes, every month as well. So there's like tons available to you. This is very much caught, not taught. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but it's a
Set it up.
yeah, it's a vibe, it's a feeling, and that's why I'm glad you're here live because it's easier to kind of grasp that thing. But in your spare time, if you watch the demos and if you watch the practice, you'll get that same experience. You'll get that same feeling of like, oh, caught, not taught. So I'm just saying, if you can fit in 30 minutes to listen to a demo while you're doing the bench press or the leg press or walking or doing whatever, it's worth it. You don't need to sit there and study. It's just a feeling. And I don't mean just a feeling because it's a special feeling. I know that some of our people too are in Australia, so it's like 4 o'clock in the morning there right now. So I think that they might be joining us, as we go through. So I'll just start out by welcoming you. Hi, the three of you. Hi Philip, nice to have you. So
Likewise. Can you hear
I'm
me?
here. Yeah, I can hear you,
Okay.
and you don't have to all be on the screen if you don't want to. Part of what I'm telling you about the recordings is if you need to take a break, you need to take a phone call, you need to go to the bathroom, have a snack, by all means do it. Take care of yourself. It's not super strict training. We're going to be nice and casual and relaxed. So ask me anything, anytime, and take care of yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
I do have a question though, because
Sure.
I was thinking about this morning.
Mhm.
If we just getting up and moving out, which is fine, but will there be like designated break times? Because I'm not going to want to miss anything. Like if somebody's doing a
Yeah, good question.
thing, I don't want to just miss it because there's no break.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I will have a break every module. So I have 6 modules over 2 days, basically three per day. It's about 90 minutes per. So plus or minus. I mean, it depends. If it's just the three of you, we might be done quicker. If more people show up, it might take longer. I'm not doing anything else for the rest of the day. So I really don't know. It could take, 3 hours. It could take 4. It could take 5. I just don't know. But yes, I will have a break after each module for sure. If you need your own, by all means. The only thing that you don't want to do is volunteer to demo and then need to go somewhere because obviously we need you for the whole demo. But aside from that, it's pretty free spirited. So do it what is best for your health. I'll start by introducing
Thank
myself,
you.
although you already know. Yeah, my pleasure. Ask me anything anytime. Also, you can use the chat if you need to ask me something and I'm not listening to you at that time. So, you know who I am. I'm Dr. Maya Alapin. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a mental health care practitioner. I'm a clinical hypnotist. This is my whole career. I see people one-to-one, and I teach this 101 course 3 times a year. I teach the level 2 course twice a year. So, this is the whole business. The whole purpose of it is to share this soul to soul connection. The purpose is not necessarily to um, well, let's just stop with that. The purpose is to share that soul to soul connection. This is not an accreditation course. This is not oh, I'm going to get a certificate and know something, huge that I didn't know before course. It's a practical course. The idea is exactly what Dana was saying at the
Dana.
Dana, sorry, thank you for correcting me, saying at the outset, which is like, I'm good at my work, I'm good at therapy, I know how to help people, but there's still something that's stuck here. There's still like a piece that I can't quite get through. I can't figure out that practical, motion. So that's the point of this course is to give you that skill. It's not to give you a piece of paper that tells you, okay, you're some kind of hypnotist now. If you do need to be accredited, yeah, that's fine. Doesn't matter at all what you are. If you do need a piece of paper to do hypnosis, then that's a different course. And I want to just say right now, like, be aware of that. Obviously, you don't want to go advertise yourself as a hypnotherapist in your state or country or city or whatever, and it turns out that you don't have the right thing. So that's not what you're here to learn. I don't even know where you are located. So all those legal pieces and all those technicalities, it's very important that you know. I'm not going to be the source of that. Here where I live in Quebec, it's not legal to call yourself a therapist unless you've been to a BA or MA in psychology. So I'm a hypnotist here. If I called myself a hypnotherapist, that would be a bad thing. So I'm just saying, whatever it is that you need to pay attention to, that's something you need to do. I'm not going to be the source of that information. This live, yep, go ahead. You have a
I'm
question?
just asking because these are questions that are important to me.
Yeah,
So
sure.
can we say that that we've been trained in we're not because I want to be able to add this and say that I'm fluent in conversational hypnosis and I work with people in that realm. We can say that, right?
You can definitely say that. You can, link to my page. You can say this is who trained me. You can say whatever you want. I just don't want you to say, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist if it turns out that in Montana, where you live, that requires X and Y pieces of paper. And I will say, like across the world, hypnotherapy is very diversely monitored, like in some places it's very casual, in some places very strict. So it just depends where you are. Obviously, in the United States right now, everybody needs to be like extra paying attention because who the hell knows what's gonna occur. But anyway, long story short is this is not an accreditation program. It's important for you at the outset to just pay attention to the fact that you're here. I know that sounds a little crazy because, duh, of course you are, but like, what kind of person signs up for an online teach me how to overcome resistance in 1 to 2 sessions kind of course? Like, that's not for everybody. So the fact that you chose it and the fact that you're here already tells you a lot about that you're going to be good at it because it takes a certain kind of vision and a certain kind of person to believe in it and to come here. So I want you to just start out by telling yourself, like, because you're going to ask yourself as we go through the demos, you're going to be like, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know how to do that. That's really, not as easy as she said it was, blah, blah, blah. You'll have all kinds of thoughts and objections. That's fine because you're just learning and you're going to eventually come into a place where it adds up and makes sense. So I'm not worried about that. But I want you to also tell yourself as you're having those thoughts, oh, yeah, but the fact that I signed up for this and the fact that I think it's possible for me is probably informational in the sense that it's going to take me somewhere. So don't let yourself get caught up in the details. At the end of 3 days, I can guarantee that you're going to know how to do it. So nothing to worry about as you go through. If you already have a lot of training, which, Donna and Philip, I know you do. I don't know too much about Diana yet, but we'll find out. All the training that you have, I'm sorry to tell you, and it's funny because I'm sitting in front of my bazillion dollars of training wall, right? But we're going to shelf it. We're going to put it all aside because this is a revolutionary thing that I'm doing. This is a revolutionary thing that you're doing. And a big piece of the revolution is admitting that what we've been doing so far has only worked so much. And there's got to be some other thing that works more effectively and faster. I've done a million videos. You can watch them on YouTube about like why I love this method. But short story is, after all the training I've done, after all the education I've gotten, I am trained as a regular hypnotherapist too, who does the counting down and all of that. What I've found is the more we import to the session, the more we come at the clients thinking, well, I know because I have the education, I have something to share with you that you didn't know, the more we interrupt their subconscious. So, like, this is a very hard concept to wrap your mind around because we've been so heavily convinced in the Western world, by our educations that if we invest more, we become smarter. If we invest more, we become more expert. If we invest more, we can help people more. But actually, I know you're already shaking your head. Actually, what I have found in my clinical experience is that's just not true. The subconscious of the client is where the beauty and magic lies, and all the solutions come from there. So there's nothing I can bring that will override that. There's nothing I can bring that will be stronger than that. So actually, the difficulty in this method is taking away all of the tricks and tools. Diana texted me last night or yesterday sometime, like, should I prepare? Is there something I need to do? And I wrote her back, like, no, I keep telling you that's the method is there's no prep. There's really no prep needed. And I really genuinely mean that. If you prepare, you have already inserted yourself somewhere you don't need to be. So it's very hard to let go, especially when you've invested money and time and education, etc. It is hard to let that go, but that is what I'm going to ask you to do. So you're going to just start from nothing right now, like as though you have no idea, never helped a person in your life, don't know how to begin. And we're going to start from that fresh place. This is a speed method. It's a lazy method too. So when I say do nothing, when I say don't prepare, when I say no pressure on yourself, I'm legit. I mean, I really mean that. I really mean that. I really don't want you to have to stress about results. And having said that, we are going to do some live demos. There's no pressure. There's no point in getting upset or expecting something because that's not what we're here for. We're not here for proving, that you're the best at it or that the transformation is easy or whatever. We're here just to learn the method. So there's no pressure on you while you're practicing. There's no pressure on you to be a certain way or have a certain result. If you get a transformation out of it, awesome. If we get a breakthrough, awesome. If not, we're gonna examine it, talk about it, learn about it, etc. So nothing to worry about, truly nothing to worry about. The demos are not for results. So what's the deal with conversational hypnosis to begin with? Just like a 2-minute overview. You probably know who Milton Erickson was. Milton Erickson is like the great grandfather of modern day hypnosis. He was known for being sort of a little crass, a little difficult, a little, like unexpected. He worked in a wheelchair for most of his life, so he had this kind of, crotchety approach to people. But it was said that as soon as you were in front of him, the problems went away. Like he was really a mind reader of sorts, and he was able to tailor each uh, session to the client's needs. So, what was really special about him was this thing of not coming with a certain formula, not coming with a certain method, but really truly coming to the client in the moment. The technical kind of takeaway from that is this idea of utilization, which means whatever the client gives you is what you utilize. So you don't bring something, they bring something, and then you use that. So that's the fundamental principle on which conversational hypnosis was developed, is the principle of utilization, which is very cool because what it means is this is a custom experience. It's custom for each person. So long story short is in the conversational method, all you're going to really employ is your curiosity to use whatever the client supplies. That's it. Drop everything else. Drop your plan, drop your prep, drop your tricks, drop your language patterns, drop your NLP. All this stuff that you have been told is the way in, is not the way in. The only way in is observation of the client. So that's why I say it's a content-free method, because there's no content involved in that. So here we are now practicing this conversational method that is not Ericksonian. Erickson didn't have a method. That's the whole thing. So I'm trying to get as close as possible to a non-method method. Okay, so really what I'm teaching is a structure, a series of landmarks. I will call them principles, but that's it. From there, you're going to create your own thing. And you might be thinking right now, like, what the hell is she talking about? I don't even know the first thing about this. But that's the end goal, is with these principles, you will find a voice that gets to this conversation without imposing any kind of scripting. No suggestions, no affirmations. I mean, who would like that, to be able to just come to the clients without a bunch of planning? Who has ever had this experience that the client on the intake form or on the consult says, "Oh, I would like to lose weight," and then they come and sit in front of you, and the problem is depression, or actually, I don't want to lose the weight anymore because I'm comfortable with myself, as of last Friday, but I'm having a big fight with my boyfriend. And then you're like, what the fuck? I just spent all this time thinking about this other thing that is not even what you're here for anymore. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of frustrating. Who would like to be able to, isn't that true? And you're thinking, fuck. And also, it heightens your stress level at that moment, because you're also thinking, what the fuck? I'm not prepared for this. Like, this isn't what I came here for today. And I'm the professional and I'm getting paid. So I better get my shit together without knowing which binder to pull out or which paper or whatever. And that whole thing becomes very uncomfortable very fast. So why do that to yourself? So the idea here is, who would like to be able to say, hear a discovery call and somebody says, yeah, I'd like to quit smoking. And you say, great, how about tomorrow at 3? And then you just do it. I can't book people tomorrow at 3 because I'm too booked up. But like, truth is, I can just do it in the moment. I can just say, okay, let's do it right now. You want to quit smoking? Let's go. So it's kind of like a superpower, right? That's exaggerated because I need the whole amount of time and I need to be rested and I need to be hydrated and I need some stuff for myself. So I wouldn't necessarily just pull it out of a hat like that. But that's the idea, is it's on demand, which is really fun too, because you can use it, at a party, you can use it to talk on the telephone, you can use it, when you're checking in for your flight, you can use it all the time, anytime, and really make yourself into a hypnotist. Because now people get around you and feel that hypnotic feeling because that's how you think and that's how you act. And you're going to all ask me, and on day 3, I do talk about business more than the hypnosis itself. You're all going to ask me, well, where do all your clients come from? How did this happen that it became so popular? Well, there's various answers. Part of it is, social media. Part of it is, there's a whole bunch of answers I'll give on day 3. But part of the answer is, it's just who I am. And so now people know that. People know that's the identity and character that I'm carrying, and they feel it when they're around me. So that's what you're going for, is that Ericksonian persona thing where it's like, oh, I get to be around Maya. Some shit's going to happen because that's by implication what I have become and who I am. So that's what I want you to get out of this, is that automatic feeling of hypnosis, that ease in getting into it without having to prepare a bunch of things or fake it. What you're not going to learn in this course is faking hypnosis. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, you're so relaxed, close your eyes. None of that. None of that. Because as soon as we start that, we're already interrupting the person. You see how even if I start doing that, I've already put myself out in front of them. But that makes no sense. I have no idea what is going on yet. Why would I make any assumption? Why would I start anywhere without knowing anything? So today we're going to learn how to get into the hypnosis, how to begin the sessions, how to carry your hypnotic voice through the session, but without a piece of paper to lie about, without some security blanket that's telling you, oh, this is how we're going to do it. So I just want to say that, in my opinion, why I'm so enthusiastic about it, why it means so much to me, is now we get to reclaim the truth of who we are. Like, we are very powerful beings and we are able to help other people. It's just that we have been disenfranchised from that. And why have we been disenfranchised from that? Well, I mean, we could talk about it for hours, but one reason is because somebody makes money when you go and buy their script. Oh, I want to register for RTT or CBT or whatever. Okay, well, now you're involved in a whole conglomerate of stuff, which I'm not putting down. There's lots to be said for it. There's lots of great modalities out there. I've used a lot of them myself. I'm trained in a lot of them. Nothing wrong with that. But the fact is, as soon as I ascribe to that, I'm paying somebody to tell me how to be a healer. But your healing is innate in you and it's innate in your clients. So the real question is, how do we access that instead of how do we fake it to create it? So we're kind of taking apart the whole system that's been built around therapy and healing, and saying, let's just go back to the beginning and actually work directly soul to soul. That's the Soulsway label that I've put on it. So we're going to transcend these programs. We're going to transcend this implication that we need to spend a bazillion dollars on our education, because we don't. By the way, as we're doing that, we're affecting ourselves on an epigenetic level. So I really do think that this has a very huge effect, just rethinking how we're going to approach people. Okay, so I don't think this is just like, oh, it's going to make me a lot of money, it's going to be easy. No, we're really talking about how we're going to be in the world and what we're going to trust. So I have radical faith in the subconscious. You're going to learn to have radical faith in the subconscious. What we're going to learn in this training is not the skill of hypnosis. So it's the weirdest hypnosis course you've ever taken, because I'm not going to teach you any hypnosis. There's no point in teaching hypnosis if we don't know how to untie people's problems. This is a huge misconception, I think, in the hypnosis world, which is, oh, if I put somebody into a relaxed state, they can more easily become a non-smoker. Like, who's to say that? Maybe if they're relaxed, they want to smoke even more. Like there's no rhyme or reason to this idea that if you relax someone, they're more prone to change. They are more prone to taking a suggestion if they're ready for the suggestion. But we've missed the whole piece, which is, well, what if somebody's laying there with their eyes closed in your office? Here's my chair. My gnome is using the chair right now because he's the Easter gnome. If they're lying there with their eyes closed, thinking, fuck her, this sucks. I have a brief to do. I want to get out of here, or I want to go to the gym right now. Whatever you say is not going to land anywhere. It's useless. Or you close someone's eyes and say, oh, you're breathing fresh air. Oh, everything is wonderful. You're running with your kids now. You're a non-smoker, blah, 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 blah. And for the first, I don't know, 2 hours, they open their eyes and are like, yeah, I am a non-smoker. You're right. And then they leave and they say, wow, that hypnosis really worked. But then what happens? Their life goes back to being difficult, right? So then 2 days later, they're like, fuck my mother-in-law, I should fucking smoke a cigarette right now. And because you didn't really do anything other than tell them to relax and tell them they're a non-smoker, they're like, I am a smoker, actually. And then what do? Is get a call that's like, hey, I thought it worked, but it didn't work. So I'm trying to avoid all of that because just telling somebody something at the end of the day is not actually solving their problem. So this course is not about hypnosis. It's not about, hey, get more relaxed. It's not about deepeners. It's not about convincers. It's not about checking the depth of trance or anything. It's about solving problems and undoing knots. And you will find out right in the first half of the day today how that becomes hypnotic. So the hypnosis will be implied in the problem solving. The main tenet is curiosity. So that's what I'm going to talk about in module 1 today is your curiosity. That's it. You're never going to need a script again once you get interested in your curiosity because your curiosity is a script in itself. It's a non-script. So the rules of engagement for today are ask questions anytime. Don't interrupt the demos with questions. If you have a question during the demo, put it in the chat instead. I am recording the whole day. As you see, I've already started recording. So just be aware of the recording because for one thing, you're going to take breaks. If you call your, mom and start yelling at her during the break and it's recorded, it will be part of the course, forever. So just be aware that we're being recorded during the breaks. But also be aware that if you are in a demo, you're being recorded. So whatever you're sharing is part of the course. If you go through a demo and it turns out like, oh, I really didn't want that recorded, you can tell me later. But mostly I want you to be aware of the fact that the recording appears on my social media, it appears in the Kajabi platform. So just be self-regulated when you're, participating in the course. Take care of yourself. What did Dana just say? We are only on screen when we are talking. Well, no, the recording is always going. So like all 4 of you are on screen right now. So I can see everybody. But when you're in the demo, everybody will be blocked. Their screens will be blocked except for, hi Kitty, except for the 2 people who are involved in the demo. Take care of yourself, hydrate yourself, feed yourself, take a break when you need to. Don't make this into something uncomfortable. If you need to stand up or whatever, just do it. You don't need to ask or anything like that. I will ask you to turn the video off for the demos. Okay, so let's start out by unmuting yourself. And I'm just going to ask you a few questions. How this is going to go is I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm going to do a 10 or 15 minute long PowerPoint. Then we're going to do a demo right away. So we'll have a demo done before the end of the hour. We'll start it. Then we'll take a break. Then we'll come back. We'll have another one of those little same arrangement. Take another break, same arrangement. Have a end of the day. That's it. Same thing tomorrow. Day 3 is shorter. It's a little bit less action. We have less practice to do. So it's more about now that you know the method, how are you going to explain it to people? How are you going to sell it? How are you going to advertise it? How are you going to, be it? So on day three, what I'm saying is I've been an entrepreneur a long time. I've sold a lot of different things, including houses and yoga and whatever health products. But this is a standout product because it is. So we need to talk about it in its own way. So that's what I'm going to talk about on day three. The idea is once you've done this 3 days, you can not only use it with your clients or your friends or your whatever it is that you do, but you can also visualize marketing it and selling it. So I want you to do all of those things at once so that when you leave the course, you're like, oh, okay, this is, manageable. Any questions on the setup or anything else? It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so start out by telling me, where do all problems exist? Where do people's problems exist?
In their minds.
Okay, right, in their minds. What part of their mind? You're right, it is in your mind.
Subconscious, maybe, or it could be also their like their decision making part,
Yeah,
like the part that decides that they have
okay.
this problem.
I think you said subconscious first, right?
Yeah, well, definitely subconscious.
So it's definitely subconscious. Some people call that superconscious, unconscious. I'm going to use the same expression across the board, although sometimes people make distinctions. So, how do we know problems exist in the subconscious and not in the conscious mind? Like the clients call you up on the phone, right? And they're like, I'm depressed. Okay, well that's their conscious mind telling you they're depressed, right? So they think they know their problem, but they think it's conscious. So why would we think it's not? Why would we assume like, well, that's not exactly right? How do we know it's subconscious and not conscious? Well, for one thing, they haven't fixed it. So if it was a conscious problem and they understood it, wouldn't they resolve it or wouldn't they make moves towards resolving it? Well, so why are they there telling us I've tried everything? This is what happens to me regularly, and I'll tell you why I like it on day three. I love it when people tell me I've done everything. I've tried everything, CBT, NLP, I've gone to fucking acupuncture, massage, nothing works. It used to freak me out because I was like, well, what makes you think I can fix it? But now I'm like, that's great. I'm super glad you've tried all of that because we're going to try a fully different approach now. So it has to, yep, go ahead, Philip.
I just want to say that I'm being quiet here because I've seen a couple of your courses already. I checked them out on the portal, so I don't feel like rattling off the answers, but I've already
You're
seen
more than
them.
welcome to.
You know.
I don't want you to hold back. There's no need to do that. I mean, like I said, the live is just it's kind of like a bonus or a review. But go
Mhm.
ahead, say what you want to say, Dana. And you can always go ahead, Philip. You're not going to ruin the surprise or anything.
Well, I think because we do have parts of ourselves, and the parts that are sometimes, in control are like false beliefs that were formed when you were younger, and that part of yourself is making decisions, but you don't really, maybe some of us are aware of it and some of us aren't, but that has to be dealt with, I think, in order to like that part has to be on board with making the
That's right.
change. That part will sabotage you
Yeah.
to make the change because it feels, for whatever the reason, it decided that's how it was safe, or
Yeah.
that's what keeps you safe, or that's what keeps you.
And
I
would you say, from having done many client sessions in your career, would you say that one person smokes for the same reason another person smokes?
No, I would not say that. I think you probably are saying that, but I think the reasons could be different, but like maybe the root is always the same, like for comfort or to keep you safe or to feel, there's a root like
Yeah,
verb.
you're making a very good point, which is the subconscious has a role, which is to keep you safe. And
Right.
so it always enacts that same role, which is repetition
Right.
or, hey, welcome. or safety. But the reason why it's keeping a person safe is not the same from person to person. As you said, one person over here, their parents abused them. One person over here, had a childhood disease. One person over here had an accident. One person over here had a divorce. And they started to smoke at some point as a result of whatever combination of factors.
Right.
And so the bottom line is, I have no fucking clue what that is when you sit down in front of me. I do know, yes, your mind is seeking safety. Yes, you have some, problem that added up to something, but I don't really know anything in detail about that. And then the challenge becomes, based on me not knowing, based on me only knowing what you told me, which is conscious, how am I supposed to develop some inroad into you based on nothing? And I mean, I'm laughing myself because, as you can see, I spent a lot of money behind me trying to tell myself that I would be able to know, that there is some way to be able to guess or figure that out. But the fact is, there isn't. A person is opaque until they start talking, right? Until they start expressing to you where the thing came from, what started for them, how they understand it, why it's bothering them. I know jack shit. So bottom line is, what the clients tell us in their intake, what the clients tell us or think about in their own appraisal of their problem is not really helpful. In fact, it's kind of confusing and distracting. So all problems exist in the subconscious mind, and that's not available to me as soon as the client sits down. So my only option is to talk about it and ask them about it. That's going to be your first step here, is to just ask questions about the problem. So I'm going to talk you through it now with a little. Oh, and before I do that, tell me this too. What are the main issues you have using the modalities that you've been using so far before I tell you about the alternative? What's the main problem with like talk therapy?
Well, I followed a path very, very similar to yours, except in terms of the speaking directly and interjecting ourselves as little as possible. I went through a thing called clean language, which
Yeah, clean
when I
language.
trained for that, I found that to be extremely hypnotic.
Yep,
I was really surprised
yep.
at how hypnotic that was. And that became sort of the way I breathe, in and out. It's just right there. And what I have realized, and when I was attracted to your course, I was wanting something that sort of brings it all together.
Yep.
And I love
Perfect.
the idea for the unconscious moments. I love the focus on that because I started to realize that whether it's
Yes.
NLP or what have you, um, they're all triggering the unconscious moments, except people are so caught up in the protocol, whatever the protocol is, NLP or whatever, that they're paying more attention to
Miss
the
it.
protocol than they are to the unconscious moments,
Yeah.
you know. So uh, this is how I want to practice that and really solidify that and bring that all,
So what's the
together.
problem that you're pointing out? Because I think you nailed it. That's exactly right. My question was, so what's the problem with the traditional methods? And you said NLP, all these methods. The problem is,
The problem is they're paying more attention to the conscious protocol, the conscious mind protocol, than they are to the unconscious responses that are happening right there in front of them.
exactly. And by the way, what actually that amounts to is ego. You're thinking somehow you know something or you learned something that matters more than the individual. So there's an ego problem, actually. It's like importing something that might be valuable because I paid to learn it, or it might have no implication on this person whatsoever. So it's kind of a weird way of justifying ourselves. Well, I know that this has worked in the past, so maybe it'll work now, but we don't know. So I agree with you. Like, a major problem with the methods we use so far is they're guesses. Yep. Dana or Donna?
Dana, like
Donna.
Hannah,
What?
banana Dana.
Okay, Banana Dana. That helps me. Thank you.
I hope I'm not asking too many questions, but
Absolutely not.
let
I
me
love
know.
questions. This
Um,
is the questions course. If there's somewhere you want
right.
to ask questions, I think it's here.
Okay, well, for me, it's different because I don't have all that like hypno. I don't
Yeah.
have any of that. I intuit that when I look at someone's photo and I talk to them. I know the subconscious. I know where it comes from, and I can pinpoint it. The reason why I'm doing this is because sometimes I'm not able to change the behavior, even though I can say, hey, what happened when you were 7? Something with your,
Yeah,
I can
that's
like
right.
get into the knowledge of it
Yeah.
and say, oh, wow, yeah, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
I can't, sometimes it does work, like, because
Yeah.
I do other things, but a lot of, with some of the really sticky, it's like they can't get
Right.
out of their own way, even though now they see it. So
Yeah.
that's my hope is that whatever this technique is,
Yes.
enables me to have that because I don't have the training of NLP and all those things.
That's great though. I mean, the less you have for this, the easier. But I like what you pointed out with the problem, which is sometimes I can bring the unconscious to consciousness, which is what you're explaining, but I'm still missing the step of change. So I'm gonna fix that for you too. That's part of the course. I mean, any other problems that people have? No one's mentioned. Oh yeah. Go ahead, Shani. Shani?
Said it right.
Oh, good. That one took me a
Said it
while.
right. So I RTT background. Are you? I think that's what you are too, right? It's
No,
just
I'm not. I'm not.
oh,
No.
oh, I thought you were for some reason. Like going back to unnecessary trauma. Like we go back and look for the scenes. So although I've had
Exactly.
wonderful results, this class or ACH is like
Yes.
just 100 times. It just breaks away all that. It's just not necessary unless something needs to surface, right? And then it surfaces instead of us going to look for it and
I
pulling.
mean, I love what you just said. You're so right. Like, it's not that it doesn't work, it's that it doesn't work for everyone. And some people are negatively affected by it. I remember
Yeah,
doing,
because
yeah, go ahead.
there's like a lot of, sexual abuse and
Exactly.
bullying and just all these things that you don't need to.
Right. And so for
Wow.
anyone who doesn't know what RTT is, just explain to them. It's
No, yeah, it's just going back to the root cause of so say somebody has anxiety, which that's what I do is anxiety.
yeah,
And so you want to go back to what the root cause is of why they had the anxiety. So you'd like walk them down 10 steps. There's all these other little things.
right.
I don't do them. I've always skipped over them because I always thought they were cheesy, which is funny because then I started
That's another problem.
like, oh wow, good. Other people think it's cheesy.
Yeah.
So go back to the root cause. So you go back to a scene when you're 7 and
Right.
your dad is sexually abusing you or blah, blah, blah. And then you like, what's the next scene that you first felt anxiety? And honestly, I've always had great results, but to find out that I don't need to take them back there
Yes.
is like just so amazing. So you go
Really.
back to the root cause.
And by the way, for those who don't know, I mean, I think RTT is very cool and I've had good results with it also, but it does have this very set up structure, which is like, okay, first regression, second regression, third regression. And inside of each regression is like, where are you now? What are you wearing? So it kind of
Right.
has like speed, put you on the spot kind of thing, which, as you said, for complex trauma, first of all, re-traumatizes people. And secondly, even if it's not offensive or not painful for the person, if they didn't need that, if that wasn't part of what they were sitting there in front of you for anyway, why go there? So again, it's just the thing about I have an expectation of my method and I'm going to put you through that wheel, whether or not that's, what is best for you. So yeah, I totally agree with you. The forced, implicit, this is how it has to be is a problem. The one other thing nobody has said, I want to get to my presentation, so I'll just give it to you. Thank you for participating or for sharing, is time. Like I'd say a huge problem for 95% of people who are in this industry is it's taking too long, or I feel we already solved it, but you're still coming telling me it's unresolved. I mean, like, no offense to people. I like working with people and I don't mind the repetitiveness of it sometimes. But I also have gotten to the point of like, well, if I see 100 people a year, it's a lot of problems to listen to. And if X person over here has already resolved their problem, but wants to talk to me about it again, I get a little bit frustrated. So why is it that they don't feel that resolution? Why is it that they still feel caught up with it? Why do they still want my time? Well, it's because I'm not done. I didn't do something, right? Like they will know it's done when it's done. So there's something going on with these ordinary methods where it's like, I'll see you next week. I'll see you next week. And they believe that they need to see you next week. Even in regular hypnosis, the packages are like 6-pack, 10-pack, 12-pack. Like, God help me if I have to see someone 12 times at this point for the same fucking thing. I just don't have the patience. I don't have the bandwidth. And also I can't make $1 doing that, so it's worthless anyway. So time is a big consideration. Any others? Problems with regular hypnosis or regular therapies? You'll think of them as we go through. All right, you know where you are. We're in level 101. Welcome to the Conversational Hypnosis School presentation. It's going to take me about 15-20 minutes to do this. Then we'll do a demo. Okay, so I've already told you a few of these things, but I'm going to say them again. This is a new frontier because we have been living in the same model and using the same model on repeat for a half a century now, several decades at the very least. And we're living in a different moment of history right now. We're living like in the AI moment. The mind is expanding extremely quickly. We know about neuroplasticity now, which we didn't even know about like 30 years ago, 25 years ago. All the theories, Freudian theories, Jungian theories, did not know about the neuroplastic mind. So they're all, the basis of our systems that we've been using and our approaches that we've been using, but they themselves did not appreciate that the mind is extremely malleable and wants to learn and change. So I would say this is revolutionary because we're now actually talking about the neuroplastic mind in the context of how to use it. So this is revolutionary because we're stepping outside of that traditional boxed model into the unknown, into the new frontier, as I said. Whoops. The problems with traditional methods we've already talked about. Time is why I have this guy. The predictability of it interrupts the client, can't quite get them to actually change their behavior at the end of it, wasting sessions because we don't know how to actually fix the problem, using hypnosis or relaxation in place of problem solving. These are all the problems that we've already outlined. As I've said, the real trick with our clients is that their conscious mind loves to guess. And essentially, that's what the clients are doomed to do. They're going to guess. They're going to guess at what they're feeling and experiencing. Because what else could they do? That's their only option. They can only guess. So the same reason that people ask for help is because they really don't know what the problem is and they don't know how to solve it. So as we've said, all problems exist subconsciously, and yet the method that the clients are using to talk to us about them is their conscious mind. So our job is very, very easy and very clear, which is to circumvent the guessing and bypass the resistance so that we can get to the part of the person where the problem has been generated. Their subconscious mind. All problems are subconscious problems. We know that they exist subconsciously or unconsciously. Therefore, it is not like baking a cake. I'm an avid baker, so I think about baking all the time. And I'm a healthy baker too, but the point about baking is it's measured. And I learned this the hard way. I used to be one of those inventive bakers, who would just do whatever. But as I've grown and now I want to give the kids, the birthday cake or whatever, I want it to turn out right. So what I've learned is you have to measure. And you have to actually, when it says 14 minutes, it's not 16 minutes, it's 14. And you have to pay attention to that. This is the opposite of that. There's no instructions like that. There's no formula. It's not baking at all. So how can you prepare? How can you write a script? How can you do something planned for something that you don't know what's going to happen yet? So this is not going to be like baking a cake. The method that we're going to use to blow up that traditional method is called the hypnotic interview. And all we're doing here is learning about the problem. That's it. Okay, so everything you know so far you're forgetting, and we're replacing it with this idea of using a hypnotic interview. So when you sit down, let's say you're freaking out, you don't know what to do. Oh my God, I'm going to do conversational hypnosis. I don't know how to start, blah, blah, blah. You're going to think to yourself in your head, fuck all that. All I'm going to do is learn about this problem. That's all I care about, is just learning about the problem. I'm very serious, totally legitimately telling you to forget and ignore anything except for that interview. I want you to forget trance, forget hypnosis, forget problem solving, forget what they paid you for, forget them relaxing. Do none of that. Okay, so this is the hypnosis course that tells you ignore hypnosis. When you're looking at the client, don't think to yourself, are they deep enough? Are they relaxed? Are they ready for what I'm about to say? None of that. I want you to literally ignore any ideas that you have about, is this a trance? What's the difference between relaxation and solving problems? I'm going to go back to the presentation in a second, but do you know what's the difference between relaxation and solving problems?
They're not necessarily related.
Yeah. And what's going on though? Like, how is it that we've always been told that we have? I mean, that's the traditional hypnotic method: induction, relaxation, deepener, checking, convincer. I mean, that's what we've been told for a long time is the pattern. So how come we've combined problem solving and relaxation in traditional methods? I mean, Philip, you must know because you know a lot about the history of hypnosis.
So you're asking me?
Well, do you know?
Well,
I don't even really know. It's weird.
I think historically it acted as a convincer of
That's
sorts.
right.
You know,
Exactly.
so when people wanted to, oh, gee, I'm so relaxed, there must be something happening.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right. There must be something happening. So what happens when a person gets relaxed but hasn't solved their problem and somebody tells them the problem is solved now?
They tend to believe you.
Yeah, they tend to believe you. Is the problem really solved?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. So it's very possible to be relaxed, to be in a receptive state where somebody tells you something. You have not resolved the reason that you have that problem. So inside of yourself, you're thinking like, I don't know, I don't feel that great, but this person's telling me I'm a non-smoker now.
This
And so
authority is telling me.
authority, exactly. So there's a kind of power struggle going on. Oh, should I believe them that I'm a non-smoker? Okay, I'll believe them because of the convincer. So I'm not trying to disparage traditional hypnosis because it has a lot of beautiful elements to it. And I do use it sometimes, and I'll tell you when I use it as the course goes on. But the reason that that is a problem is because it's called a dirty trance. Dirty trance. Okay, so a dirty trance is when now we've achieved the relaxation and the hypnotic experience, but the underlying problem or the underlying lack of resolution remains. So it's neither here nor there. In fact, it kind of feels dirty to be in that dirty place because now you're thinking, well, shouldn't I feel better? Shouldn't I be relaxed? Shouldn't I not feel conflicted anymore? But you still do. So then you're thinking something's wrong with me. It's not working. This hypnosis is bullshit. Now it becomes an unconvincer, right? So very important to not confuse relaxation and trance with problem solving. Problem solving is its own thing. And the way I talk about it in this training is untying knots.
Mm.
Yeah, Dana?
I mean, again, I'm not a hypnotist, but I think it's similar. I don't think it solves your problem, but I think it could change your behavior. And it's similar to behavioral, like behavioral conditioning. You're not getting to the root of you do that because, your mother did
Right.
that, but you're giving them a something and they're changing their behavior. So I think hypnosis works because you're able to change the behavior sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily matter about changing the root because you're changing the behavior. And again, that's like the same.
Well, that's a super interesting comment that you just shared, and I'm gonna go on a little tangent here to answer. Did I interrupt you though? Was there something else?
Well, there was, but it's fine. I was just
Go ahead.
doesn't.
I'm a horrible interrupter, as you'll see in the
Okay, I am too, but I
Go
won't
ahead.
teach it. I don't remember well, no, I was just gonna say, no, don't. I want to hear what you were gonna say.
Okay, so this is a super important comment that you just made, and I think the distinction I'm going to make in response to it will help you to understand what I'm pointing out with the difference between relaxation and problem solving or untying knots. In the neurological levels of the mind, we have various, hierarchical levels. Actually, the environment is the bottom level, so that's like organizing your space, etc. And Feng Shui is a very interesting insight into that, right? You change your space, you can change your mind, you change your mind, you'll change your space. So I could do a whole class on that. It's an aside. But right above that is behavior. So actually, it's a low neurological level. The way the neurology works is it's a top-down thing. So behavioral change will not go up the hierarchy. It will only go down, right? So the issue is above the hierarchy, we have other considerations like values or identity. Even higher than that is like relationship to spirit or God or whatever people call that. But if your identity level, which is really the highest level before that connection to the beyond, if that level remains unchanged, eventually it will override the behavior, right? So behavioral change is still a symptom level change.
Definitely.
That's exactly what we're talking about here, is not permanent or long-term necessarily. So you're absolutely right that relaxation can lead us to behavioral change, and CBT obviously is banking on, well, if we change behavior, people will feel better. But what happens is people go to those things and are like, but my rage is getting worse. Or like, I forget to use my CBT when I need it because my emotions take over. So the identity is overriding that structural change, basically. So now we're back to the problem of, well, how do I know I'm not going to end up transferring my behaviors because my underlying problem is unresolved? And by the way, that's something we haven't talked about so far, but a big issue with our usual methods is transference, which is, well, you can convince somebody that they're a non-smoker, but now they're an overeater because we didn't actually solve the reason they were smoking to begin with. So now we fuck them double, right? That's not helping. So bottom line that I'm trying to talk about is, you're right, you can help somebody modify their behavior, but is that really a permanent change, or are they going to call you back in 3 months or 9 months or a year and say, you bullshitted me, that didn't work? So that's what I'm always keeping my eye on. Because at the end of the day, I haven't said this yet, but you'll get to know me and figure this out. I'm a business lady. Like, yes, I love to help people. Yes, I love hypnosis, but business is super important to me. I'm a single mom. I run my family on my own. All my bills are mine. The business costs money to run. So I'm a business person. At the end of the day, what I really am keeping my eye on is not having complaints, not being asked for a refund, and not having people say it was nonsense. I want the referrals to all be real and positive. So my eye is on that long term for my own worry, in addition to that it will help the clients. Okay, I want to get through this so we can do our demo. So, what's the difference between relaxation and hypnosis? We just talked about that. What we're interested in is the latter, the knots, healing the knots. When's the last time you met two people who had anxiety or addiction or trauma for the same reason? Never. No two people have the same problem for the same reason. No two people even have different problems for, everyone's problem is unique to them, and everyone's reasons for having their problem is unique to them. Applying methods, we've forgotten that not everyone responds the same to the same methods. We end up stretching out the problem unnecessarily because we listen to the person's conscious chatter. This is something that I really got sick of when I was in regular therapy, was like, how many times is she going to ask me to repeat this bullshit? Like, she already heard my bullshit last time. So what do we need to do? Talk about it again? I need to tell her again my theory on why I'm fucked up? I mean, like, come on. It feels like circling the drain. So the more the traditional therapist takes the conscious information, the symptoms, the conclusion, and formulates techniques and strategies based on their own assumptions, the more we stretch out how long this person keeps their problem for. So this picture is about trashing that instinct we have to listen to people and their conscious banter, because it's not going to go anywhere. So the core principle here, my little, what are these, lemurs or something? My little curious animals. The core principle of this approach is not going to be curiosity about the conscious fluff. It's going to be curiosity about something behind that. And that's what you're going to learn in these 3 days is, how do I get there? How do I get to that? There's nothing else to do beyond day one or in day one other than this slide. This is the whole of day one. When you lay down tonight and you're like, I don't know what that was about. I don't know how to do that. I don't know if I can pull that off. Forget all of your critique, forget all of your doubt, and just remember the slide and think, okay, so I'm going to work on my curiosity. That's it. This is the whole key. Yes, I'm going to show you how, but this is the key. This picture is another way of telling you the same thing. Ask yourself, what do I want to know? Just the way a little child does when they're in their little bubble of not knowing what's going on, like this kid right here. All this kid knows is like, something is in front of me. I wonder what would happen if I push this. I wonder if this one would go this way. I'm curious to see, if I push 3 at a time, what would happen? Like, that's how children act, right? They're just like, I don't know. Let's see. That's exactly the feel of this method. Is like, well, I don't know if I push on here, what will happen? Well, what if I do this? What will happen? Well, let me just try this out and see what happens. That's the hypnotic method that I'm using, is just like this kid. So become this. I've added a lot of visuals here because it's hard to explain what hypnosis is, but you can get a feel from it from these images. Ask yourself, what is worth asking? What would it be worth to ask this person right now? This is the feel of it. Oh, I wonder what will happen if we do this. Oh, I wonder if this will happen. Oh, I wonder if this is hot. Oh, I wonder why the smoke is here. So this is what kids do, right? They're just like, I wonder. That's exactly the same feel you're going to have in the demo that we're about to do. You're just going to be like, I wonder what will happen if. So Soulsway solutions are all individual because each soul has its own way. That's the idea of the Soulsway method, is each soul has its own way. And that's what we're going to figure out inside of the interview. The whole point of the hypnotic interview is like, what's this person's way? And we're not going to know jack shit about that until we talk to them. So it's not going to be like, oh, I know the soul's way is RTT. Oh, I know the soul's way is CBT. oh, I know this person's soul's way will be to regress to their trauma. Like, I don't know if that's really their soul's way. I know that my education might have told me that it is, but for all I know, that's wrong. So what we're going to do here is allow the soul's way to talk to us, and knowing that each person's solution is their own. Why that works so well is in part because given that I know that each person's solution is their own, and given that I know that all I can possibly do is ask them about their own situation, it doesn't matter who's in front of me. I've used this with a lot of adults. I've used this with trauma, with addictions, phobias, fears, long-term problems, acute problems, fear of needles. I've also used it with teens. Teens have a whole their own, type of problem, type of way of talking about their problems. You can use the same method, just inquiring with them in their own way. And I have a whole separate class on kids and teens and seniors because it's their own, they speak their own way. But you can use this with kids and just slow it down. You can use it with seniors. So it doesn't matter who's in front of you, the approach is going to be the same, knowing that the person is individual. What happened to my presentation? It just disappeared. That's a problem. Let's see what happened. You see that? How it just disappeared off the screen? Just a second, I see it's trying to generate itself, but I don't see it at the moment. Well, I'll fix this at the break. The last slide says, take the pressure off of yourself. You don't need to feel pressure to get this done. Because all you're going to do is inquire. So the only principle that I want you to use right now is curiosity. What do you want to know? That's it. So hi to everybody who joined. You guys know the deal probably. I think all of you are prior students. So you know the deal. If you have questions for me, you can ask. We're going to do a demo in 5 minutes. I'll answer questions first. Go ahead. Banana Donna, go ahead. You're muted.
I don't have a question.
Oh, you did. Okay, does anyone have a question on the presentation? Did it make sense? Okay, so I'm just going to remind you about the demos. No pressure, no breakthrough and it has to happen. If you have one, great. If something happens exciting, interesting, that's fine. If not, nothing to worry about. We're not here to, whatever, wow each other. So my voice is on top of yours. I'm going to coach you, so there's nothing to worry about. The very best way to learn this method is to practice. So we're going to do a demo, then we'll take a little break. So I know you don't know the whole of it yet, but all you're going to do in this demo is be curious. The client who's going to volunteer, please do not bring your biggest problem. I already posted this in the group yesterday or the day before. If you haven't watched that video, watch it. All I'm saying there is be sensitive to the fact that this is a practice experience. Be sensitive to the fact that you're not here for free therapy. So don't bring your biggest problems to people, and be honest with people about what we're working on. So don't bring your biggest problem. Think of a mid-level, small level problem. And who would like to be the first client?
Well,
Perfect. Okay, so Philip will be the client, and then who would like to be the practice hypnotist?
I've never seen it even, so I wouldn't even know what to, I'd rather wait to see one.
Perfect. I love that. You can still do it anyway. I mean, just so you know, we have like not a giant group here either, so you can volunteer more than once. I do like it when people switch places.
So I'm
Shani,
gonna do it.
do you want to do it, Shani? Is that what you're
Unless
saying?
No, let her do it. Yeah,
unless
because
Banana Dana wants to.
no,
Totally.
you go ahead. I've never seen this ever, so
Okay, so you do a practice one watching, but then you'll volunteer next time. You can do either role.